Hi there, welcome back. So how are you today? How are you feeling? I have been inspired to create this beautiful video today talking about mistakes, talking about failures, what we think are mistakes and failures. So that's what we will be addressing in this gorgeous video. So what I wanted to share in this beautiful video is my experiences of mistakes. Now, I'm not talking about childhood mistakes when we're reprimanded and we're smacked and we're yelled at for making mistakes. That's that part of our lives. I'm talking about the part of our lives where we are grown up and we call them mistakes. We call them failures. And many times when we talk about mistakes, we are talking about relationships that we've had. So I'm going to let you sit with that for a moment so that you can gather all your information about the relationships that you consider were a mistake or relationships that you feel failed. You know, for the longest time, I felt that my first relationship was a mistake. I was with my first partner for 8 years. That's a long time. Like, it's not, you know, it wasn't a couple of days and we were done. We were together for 8 years. And, you know, like really together. You know, some couples are together, but they don't see each other very much. We were always together. So those 8 years were pretty intense. It was only really the last year that we were separate. I came to Australia and he stayed overseas in South America. That I would say, okay, that last year we weren't really together. So maybe call it 7 years of really being together all the time. Anyway, after that relationship, and honestly, when I was with that partner, I thought that that was the partner I was going to grow old with. I thought he was the one. You know, my knight in shining armor, that was it, right? That's what I thought. I was so in love with this partner. Now, for those of you who have seen my previous videos, you would already know, but I'll share it here again, that the whole time that I was with this partner, I never felt good enough to be with this partner. I never felt I was good enough for him because he was so much smarter than I was. And I found him so beautiful that I didn't feel that I brought anything to the table. I thought that he deserved better the whole time I was with him. And it wasn't anything that he said or did, you know, because he went out of his way to make me feel loved, to make me feel that, you know, that I knew that he loved me. He did everything he possibly could to make me feel loved. But all I could feel was how unworthy I was of his love. How I wasn't good enough to be with him. Even if I had finished my degree, because I was in my 3rd year of university, I was learning chemistry. And I remember one day sitting there thinking, who am I doing this for? I don't even want to do this. It's not for me. I knew, it was clear in my head that this was not for me. So I remember sitting there one day in a lecture thinking, well, who am I doing this for? Who's this for? Why do I need this? And I walked out and never came back. Because, you know, in my mind, I thought, I don't want someone to love me just because I have a title on the wall, because I have a diploma that says that I'm smart enough to accomplish this degree or whatever it was, you know, at the time. I wanted to be loved for me, not for what I achieved, you know. And that wasn't something that I wanted to do as a career. You know, I was just doing it because it was one of the hardest things to do, chemistry. And I knew that if I completed that whole course, that I would have this diploma to say, I am smart enough. So in my 3rd year of uni, I walked out. I realized, no, this is not for me. I'm not even doing it for me. So, you know, I'd had enough of being pushed to study. I didn't want to do it anymore. And anyway, so eventually my unworthiness of being with this partner, of not feeling good enough, all the rest of it, was what brought me to end the relationship. And for so long, for so many years, I saw that whole relationship as a mistake. First, I thought I'd made a mistake in breaking up with him because I thought, well, he was the love of my life. What did I do? What have I done? Right? So the first few years afterwards, I was like, I made a mistake, and I would email and apologize and, but somehow inside of me, I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to be with that partner again because I didn't want to feel that way anymore. I didn't want to feel that I wasn't good enough anymore. So it was more about apologizing and trying to set things straight because I knew that I had hurt him, But the whole time, for many years later, I considered the whole relationship a mistake. It caused so many problems between me and my parents because of him. He was kind of in the middle. He kind of caused a rift, according to my parents, between us. That it was his fault that I had a rift between me and my parents, that I had chosen him over them, So there was that. And I thought after all that love and how much I loved him, and then to have lost him, it was all a mistake. To me, it was all a mistake. That was all I could see. The whole relationship was a mistake, I didn't gain anything from it. Anyway, I always gave thanks that we didn't have children, we'd never had children, so we didn't have that backwards and forwards, that some couples have. Some relationships end up with having to see each other all the time. Anyway, afterwards, it was a clean break for us. We didn't have any, we didn't have a house together. We didn't have anything. It was just easy to say goodbye. We're done. There was nothing. But there was always that inside of me that it was a mistake, that I failed. Somehow I had failed, And it wasn't until I had my first awakening that I understood the gift of that relationship in my life, that I understood the blessing that it was, not a mistake. First, I'll go through this. So what I understood once I had my first awakening with my daughter, the first thing was I had been waiting for her for a really long time, over 15 years, for my daughter to come into my life. And I honestly believe she was it. She was the love I had been searching for my whole life. That love that I never got from my mum, I was going to be able to have that beautiful relationship with her. And we have an amazing relationship. But that love that I thought was going to come from her wasn't it. And it was in that stirring, in that awakening, in that, what? I thought you were it and you're not it. It was like, what? I don't understand. And so I spent that very first year of her being born thinking, what am I missing? I'm missing something. What am I missing? There's something here that's not right. I kept thinking to myself, something here's just not working. I keep thinking all these things are what's going to bring me love, and then none of them do. It's not the love that I'm looking for. It's not the love that I'm yearning for in my heart. That was the first step. And as I went through that with my daughter, I started to really look at that first relationship. And when you start to fall in love with you, when you start to understand who you truly are, that you are this beautiful spirit in human form, that you are spirit in human form, spirit. When you start to tap into that reality of who you really, really are, and you start to look at the relationships you've had, and you start to observe yourself, because we see the relationship as a mistake when we're looking at it as blaming the other person, the partner that failed us, the partner that didn't give us what we needed from them, which is always just what? Love. What is it that we're looking for in our partner? Love, to be loved completely for who we are, to be accepted completely for who we are. What else are you looking for from your partner? Think about it. I'll give you a minute. Really think about it. What are the things that we are looking for in our partners? What is it that we want them to give to us? Love, acceptance, approval. And in that moment, when I really, really started to look at my first relationship, I realized there are no mistakes. Everything is divinely planned. He was in my life for a reason. Everyone is in your life for a reason. The people that are in your path, that are on your journey, are not there by coincidence. They're not there by mistake, by accident. They were carefully chosen by you. So when you start to look at those relationships that you believe were mistakes, and you see yourself, what were you being in that relationship? Who were you in that relationship? Were you worthy of your partner's love? Were you good enough to be with that person? Did you deserve their love? I know for me, all of those questions were a no with my first partner. They were a no. Not at all. That's what I was being at the time. And when you start to open up, when you start to open your eyes to who you truly are, and you realize, I am good enough. I am worthy of that person's love. I deserved that person's love, or I deserve it now. I deserve that person's love. And that is what I got from that mistake that I made. That I am good enough. I was the one that decided that I wasn't good enough for him. I had all that playing in my head. I was the one that decided that I wasn't worthy of his love, that I didn't deserve it, all by myself. I had decided all that. And eventually I couldn't stand being in a relationship, loving someone that I didn't deserve. I couldn't stand another minute of not being good enough to be with the person I loved. I couldn't stand it. The pain inside of me was so strong that I had to end it. I couldn't spend another day living like that. But with time, when you understand that the love that you've been yearning for from those partners was never from them at all. The love that you've been yearning for is your love. When you came into the world and you separated from the divine, from the universe, from spirit, whatever you want to call it, to come and have this gorgeous human experience, you separated from that love. You left yourself there. In your childhood, when your parents reject your love, you reject your love. You left yourself there. All the while, you go through your human experience, searching for love everywhere, in everyone, in your parents. We spend a whole lifetime trying to gain that love from that parent that couldn't love us in our childhood. A whole lifetime. We spend our whole lifetime trying to get that love from our partners, from our children. All the while, it is your love that you are waiting for. Your love. For you to love you. For you to accept yourself as you are. For you to approve of yourself as you are. All of it. Without judgment. And I think that should be in bold writing. Without judgment. It's our judgments of ourselves that keep us from loving ourselves completely. When we judge that we're not good enough to be with someone, that we're not worthy of their love, we are judging ourselves. We're not good enough. We're not worthy. But you love that person for a reason. You love that person. You want to love that person. And what is trying to come out for you is that you are trying to be the love that you came here to be. That love that you left behind so long ago when you were originally rejected in this world. So, for me, there are no mistakes. Everything that I've called a mistake in my life has shown me something about myself. In that first relationship, it has shown me that I was more than good enough as I was. Because all he needed was my love. That's all he wanted. He didn't want anything else. He didn't want me to be anything else. So in each relationship, what we need to look at is, what is that person bringing out in you? What is there that is trying to come up for you to release, to let go of it? You don't need to hold on to that anymore. They're not good enough. They're not worthy. They're not deserving, and they're not whatever else you have on your list that you were in that mistake. So I hope this has put a whole new perspective on how you view mistakes now. All right, my darlings, I'll leave it at that here. We can always speak more of it. There's so much to talk about when it comes to mistakes. How do we learn without mistakes? How do you learn? Anything. Anything. Just pick anything. I mean, I teach piano, and I know the students have to make 1,000,000 mistakes before they get it right. And that's just piano. But if you pick anything in life, any sport, anything you want to learn, mistakes are necessary. You need to make them to learn. You need to make them to grow. And our human experiences do the same. We learn so much about ourselves through these mistakes. All right, my darlings, I love you dearly. I don't know if I've already done it, but click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.